Clippers superstar Blake Griffin had to undergo surgery on his elbow to remove a staph infection, and now he is out at least up to 3 weeks and possibly 6 weeks. No specific timetable. He will be reevaluated after 3 weeks. And just like that, the Clippers, who are in 6th place, they possibly could miss the playoffs. At 34-19, you would think, oh, the Clippers, they'll be all right. But they have a tough stretch of games coming up, and they don't call it the Wild West for no reason. Welcome back to the Best Damn Sports Blog. Back again to talk NBA with you guys, specifically the Clippers and Blake Griffin. Their superstar Blake Griffin will be out at least 3 weeks. He'll be reevaluated after 3 weeks because he suffered a staph infection in which he had to get surgery on his elbow for, and he's had elbow problems dating back a couple years now. And without Blake Griffin, when you look at this Clippers team, you sit there and you think, where are the points going to come from? DeAndre Jordan can't score. Matt Barnes can't score. Jamal Crawford, he's hot and cold. Some nights he'll be able to give you 25 or even 30, 40 points, but some nights he might shoot 7 to 25. So when you sit here and think about this Clippers team, you got J.J. Redick, who's been in and out the lineup of late. He's not necessarily a scorer. And Chris Paul, during his 4 years with the Clippers, he's only scored over 40 points once. Now, that doesn't mean very much, but at the same time, with Blake Griffin, their best player, out, the Clippers will need scoring from somewhere. DeAndre Jordan, he has no offensive game except throw the ball up and I'll slam it in. You got Hedo Turkoglu on the bench, Austin Rivers, who can somewhat score, but he's just inefficient. And to be honest, if his father wasn't the coach, I don't think the Clippers would trade for Austin Rivers. It was unnecessary. But back to the Clippers and this Wild Western Conference. Now, if Blake is out over a month, that would be at least 20 games that he will miss. And their next 14 games are brutal. Listen to their opponents. They have Houston, followed by San Antonio. Sacramento, that's a possible win. You got Memphis, Houston, Memphis, Chicago, the T-Wolves, Portland, Golden State, the T-Wolves again, OKC, Dallas, and Houston. Now, their win over Dallas last night was huge for the Clippers because they need as many wins while Blake Griffin is out as possible. And when you look at this stretch, there's possibly only 3 games that you can pencil in as W's. And even the Kings, I wouldn't necessarily pencil them in as a W because they have talent. DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay, Darren Collison, Ben McLemore. This Kings team has talent, and they are capable on any given night to beat any team in the NBA. So I'm not sure if you can pencil that in as a win. And then even Minnesota, they just got Ricky Rubio back. They got Pekovic back. Andrew Wiggins looks to be nice. So none of these are pencil-in wins. But they also have to face Memphis twice, Portland, the Warriors, Houston twice. That's a tough stretch to miss Blake Griffin through. And Chris Paul, yes, he is the best point guard in the NBA, but he will have to score during this stretch without Blake Griffin. Chris Paul is going to have to be a superstar just for this Clippers team to finish 7-7 during those 14 games. Chris Paul, this season, has only scored 25 or more points 5 different occasions. Without Blake Griffin, I think he'll have to be above 25. He's going to have to average around 28 a game along with 10, 11 assists. And the Clippers, they just had an up and down season. Spencer Hawes hasn't produced at the level they thought he would. You know, Matt Barnes, he's great but on the defensive end, but offensively, he's a liability some nights. And the Clippers, they just lack athleticism. And without Blake Griffin, everything is highlighted that is wrong with this Clippers team. Chris Paul will have to be a superstar during this span to keep the Clippers afloat in the Western Conference. Blake is the best player on the Clippers if others thought Chris Paul is, you're completely wrong. I want to read you off these stats. When Blake Griffin is in the lineup, the Clippers are second in offensive efficiency. Without him, the Clippers are 24th in offensive efficiency. So this Clippers team goes as Blake Griffin goes. And as of right now, this Clippers team is 34-19 and sit in 6th place. But 8th place Phoenix trails them by just 5 games. And OKC and New Orleans, who are tied for 9th, they trail the Clippers by just 6.5 games. So now if you look at that 14-game stretch and the Clippers say go, 3-11, 4-10, 5-9, they very well could open up the chance for teams like Phoenix, New Orleans, and OKC to all move up and the Clippers fall down. The way I see it, San Antonio, they are in 7th behind the Clippers at 33-19. I think they are stable and they will override LA for that 6th spot. So now you have LA, Phoenix, New Orleans, and OKC all fighting for 7 and 8. And without Blake Griffin, this team is going to struggle. They have a tough stretch coming up. And if Chris Paul cannot elevate his game on the offensive end and carry this Clippers team on his back without Blake, it is not far-fetched to believe this Clippers team will not make the playoffs. Now, when I sit here and I think and analyze it, I cannot see this Clippers team missing the playoffs. But if during this 14-game stretch, they do not win more than 5 games, the probability of them missing the playoffs, in my estimation, would be 50-50. Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans are coming. And then you got KD and Russell Westbrook on the outside looking in. You know they're hungry and they're going to make the playoffs. I just believe it. They have 2 of probably the top 5 players in the NBA right now. It's hard to count out OKC. I think they're going to make a run. So this Clippers team is going to have to stay afloat. They're going to have to at least go 7-7. I think, and even if they do go 7-7, I think teams like OKC, Phoenix, and New Orleans will all gain ground on this Clippers team. Chris Paul, he will have to play at an MVP level until Blake returns to keep this team afloat. Sort of like how he did in New Orleans when it was him and David West and a bunch of role players. We have to see that Chris Paul in order for this Clippers team to stay afloat. If not, the Clippers could be on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time in 4 seasons.